зустріч в Україні в вузькому колі.
We have also reached agreements with partners from some countries. I will not specify them, about the expansion, and this is a European initiative, about expanding Ukraine's access to intelligence, on access to relevant technologies and satellites that our European colleagues have. Then we agreed with some leaders about Ukraine's access to their ammunition depots. We have agreed on licenses for production, air defense, and we will also work on licenses for some types of artillery. We have agreed to hold a meeting in Ukraine within a week in a narrow circle of representatives of the headquarters of the key countries, and so far a very narrow circle of the key countries that will be absolutely ready to send a contingent to Ukraine. Not all of them will come at first. We will invite a narrow circle. France, Britain, and Ukraine will definitely be there. This is, let's say, a triangle in this matter. We will show our infrastructure, work with partners, and work on our common vision. After that, we agreed that a meeting would immediately follow, not at the military level, but at the level of NSA, National Security Advisors. It has become known to us that the American side held consultations internally, and then consultations with both Saudi Arabia and Turkey, and also with some European countries, about their readiness to conduct monitoring. I don't know the results of these conversations, and so far our American partners have not told us about this, but they have voiced it, and we have voiced it to them, that without monitoring nothing will work.
We have been trying for 8 years to resolve these issues, these problems by peaceful means. We were forced to take Crimea and the Crimeans and Sevastopol residents under defense. We have been very long and persistently trying to resolve the issues related to Donbas and Lugansk by peaceful means. Well, as it turned out later, as everyone knows very well now, both the Ukrainian authorities and our Western handlers were essentially leading us around by the nose, unfortunately. The former leaders who were heading some of the leading Western countries at the time, in particular, the former French president, Mr. François Hollande, and Mrs. Angela Merkel, the former Chancellor of Germany, directly stated, publicly, unashamedly, that they only needed these Minsk agreements to rearm the Ukrainian regime and prepare themselves for hostilities with us. But for 8 years, people who lived on the territory of Donbas, Lugansk and Donetsk were subjected to just genocide in the literal sense of the word. The Western handlers of the Ukrainian regime preferred not to notice it. This forced us to make an attempt to end the war that was started in 2014 by armed means. We did not start it. Civil authorities are not really legal in Ukraine today according to the constitution. The elections there were not held by the president, and the constitution is designed so that everyone is appointed by the president, including regional authorities, governors, and so on. If he, the president, is illegitimate, then all the others are illegitimate too. So, under conditions of this illegitimacy de facto, neo-Nazi formations get additional weapons and recruit new people into their ranks. What can this lead to? To the fact that the actual power is in their hands. And this means, in turn, that it is not clear with whom to sign what documents. And it is not clear what power they have, because tomorrow other leaders will come who will go through elections and say, well, who signed it? We don't know, have a nice day. But that's not even the point. The point is that these neo-Nazi formations like Azov, and there are others, are actually starting to lead the country. The question arises, though, what should we do? How to negotiate with them? In such cases, international practice follows a well-known path within the framework of United Nations peacekeeping. There have already been several times what is called external management, interim administration. That was the case in East Timor, I think, in 1999. That was the case in some parts of the former Yugoslavia. That was the case in New Guinea. In general, there is such a practice. Basically, under the auspices of the UN, together with the United States, and even with European countries, of course, with our partners and friends, the possibility of introducing interim government in Ukraine could be discussed. For what purpose? To hold democratic elections, to bring to power capable and trustworthy governments that have the confidence of the people, and then begin peace treaty negotiations and sign legitimate documents that will be recognized worldwide and will be reliable and stable. This conflict took such a hot phase in 2022. We still offered to resolve all issues peacefully. Moreover, I've said this many times, We reached an agreement with Ukraine when we were negotiating in Istanbul. By the way, we also agreed on those issues that are very often asked and interpreted as impossible to resolve, the issues of denazification and demilitarization. We have agreed on these issues as well, in fact. Everything was spelled out in the draft of this document. However, this document was initialed by the head of the negotiating group on the Ukrainian side. They initialed it, they signed it, which means that everything was satisfactory. Then, as you know, their handlers from Europe, in particular from Great Britain, arrived. The former Prime Minister, Mr. Boris Johnson, convinced the Ukrainian leadership to continue the armed struggle to the last man. In fact, the Ukrainians, in order to inflict a strategic defeat on Russia. He must have forgotten that there are teams like yours, assets like your submarine. He must have forgotten or does not really understand what the Russian people are, what our people have in their hearts and souls when it comes to the security of the fatherland.
I would like, if possible, to hear firsthand the progress of the negotiations and possible outcomes.
Don't pay any attention to it. Just do your duty, that's all. Do your duty. But in general, it's a joke. I understand that everyone in the world, in our country, all people are watching it closely. In this regard, I would like to say first that I think the newly elected President of the United States sincerely wants this conflict to end for a number of reasons. I will not talk about them now. There are many, but I think it's a sincere desire. Clearly, the conflict that I've been talking about, I just gave a brief description of what's been going on in the recent past. It's still a complex conflict that requires such a thorough discussion and approach. We are in favor of resolving all these issues peacefully. And I also said something about this, that we have taken 1, 2, and 3 steps from the very beginning. So we are in favor of resolving these issues through peaceful means, but while addressing the root causes that led to the current situation. We need to, of course, ensure Russia's security for the long-term historical perspective. Any step aimed at solving this problem will be welcomed by us, and we will work with any partners who seek to do so. It is not just the United States. It is the People's Republic of China, India, Brazil, South Africa, all the BRICS countries and many others, for example, including the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, with which we have signed a treaty, and Article 4 says a lot about how and what we should do and support each other. This work with this country is also going on in the military, technical, and military sphere. We welcome the resolution of any conflict, including this one, by peaceful means, but not at our expense.
О том, как и что мы должны делать